Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Mompreneur Mondays, where we discuss tips and tricks to survive and thrive in business and beyond. I am Courtney Larvadane. I am owner of Glow Social Media, and I'm also mother of two. Thanks everybody who's tuning in live, and as always, you can check out all of the replays of our great episodes with our amazing guests on YouTube. So the link will be available. And what we like to do on this series is really discuss the intersection of parenting and entrepreneurship. So if you are an entrepreneur or have an entrepreneurial spirit, this is the place for you. If you are a parent, whether you are a mom or a dad or an aunt or a cousin or whatever, and want to just learn a little bit more about how to survive and thrive, especially in this really crazy time called COVID, my tip of the day for you is stop watching the news. It is ridiculous, and even if it's just COVID news, it is crazy, and it just kind of keeps getting worse. So I'm really excited because today my special guest is Erinn Moss, and I'm going to bring her in, and let's see if we can bring her on, and I can read a little bit of her bio to you. Because it's pretty interesting, and I even have some follow-up questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Take your
Good.
time.
I'm masked for a minute because I'm in the
Yeah,
shop. I'll be able to move in
absolutely.
a few.
Well, that's fine. I'm going to start out with your bio so everybody can hear the pro version of you, and
Cool.
then have lots of follow-ups, I'm sure, based on your amazing bio. So Erinn is a former hairstylist, reality TV star, hockey wife, philanthropist, mom, and business owner. Her husband, who recently retired from playing for a decade in the NHL and in Europe, they had a great adventure together, and when he was done, they decided to get serious about life after hockey. So they moved back to Michigan and had 4 boys in 4 years, Hank, Owen, George, and Charlie. And then Erinn got an amazing opportunity. She is the owner and operating partner of Drybar Birmingham and the brand new Drybar Ann Arbor. And Drybar is a salon franchise that doesn't do cuts, color, just blowouts. And I totally didn't plan this on purpose, but I just was at Drybar on Sunday. It was happenstance because when I was planning, no, Saturday, when I was planning to reach out to you, I was like, who is my guest on Monday? And I pulled it up and I said, what are the odds? So, and it's also funny because your most recent Instagram post is about getting a blowout for your holiday cards, and that's literally why I was in. We took our Christmas card photos yesterday, and so that was like one of the things to delegate was to not do my own hair. So it was really nice to come in, and it was great to be back. That was my first time back since everything has reopened. So it was nice to be back in the space.
Nice.
So
Well,
Erinn, welcome.
thank you. Thank you. Happy to have you. In a few minutes, I'll be able to make some moves here and take my mask off. But you'll just have to deal with it in the meantime.
That's fine. I can hear you perfect, and it's a good
Awesome.
reminder for everyone.
Cool. I actually also just got a blowout because we're doing our family photos on Wednesday. So it's a little like preemptive, but I figured I had to do it today just in case I couldn't get it in before then. So
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
that's always the issue. I had it done. I think the latest appointment that you all had on Saturday, I was like, or Friday night, I was like, okay, I'll take it because the pictures are in the morning, and I know it's going to be crazy. I'm going to be running around.
Yep, absolutely. Isn't
So
that always how it goes?
So I was actually going to talk a little bit about holiday photos because this is a really good segue kind of into the conversation about like momhood and having to just juggle everything. So what is your main tip, or what do you do to just keep everything from falling apart at holiday photos?
So this is interesting because like holiday photos are sort of like the bane of my existence. I hate it. There are 6 people in my family. That is so many outfits. It's so many outfits that have to go together. And so that can be incredibly tricky. Just like the planning, all of that kind of stuff I dread it so much. I hate doing it. It's just it's not a thing that I enjoy, but I do like having them done. It is worth it. The last time we had holiday photos at my house that weren't, there we go. The last time we had holiday photos at my house that weren't newborn photos, I only had 2 kids. So I'm behind.
Wow.
We skipped a year where we just didn't do any. So it's definitely something that has to happen this year. But my husband is like pretty vocal when it comes to photos. He's like, here's what has to happen. It has to be short. It has to be quick. The photographer has to be somebody who can like make the kids laugh and keep them laughing. And like, we just say whatever happens, happens.
Exactly.
So
right. And you just go with the flow. You'll get one.
20, 25 minutes tops. And like, you only need 1 photo, right?
Yes,
like that's truly all you need. If you get 10, that's awesome.
Right.
But it only takes 1. So, and like, I figure if everybody is dressed up and like they're kids, so they're cute in general, even if that 1 photo is just my kids looking like kids, like fine.
Right. It doesn't matter. That's the point. They don't have to be like perfectly poised and sitting still for hours. No.
Exactly.
So I agree. This was, we had someone in our home this year, which was actually much better.
That's nice.
We wouldn't have done that except the studio that we normally go to went out of business, unfortunately, due to COVID.
No.
And
That's
so we had someone come in the home, and it was great because last year at the studio, it was a disaster. My son was overwhelmed. He's in an unfamiliar environment, and then someone's like, okay, smile. So it was a lot easier just to have somebody at the home and she is great with kids, so she kind of prepped me ahead of time. She said, I'm going to come in, and I'm not even going to acknowledge him. So here to do something to me, you know? And so that helped a lot. He just was kind of like, oh, well, who is this? He's interested now that they're ignoring him, of course, because that's how kids are. And so then when it came time to take pictures, he was like, okay, this isn't so bad. So that was pretty cool.
That's really smart. That's a good tip.
Yeah. So good luck to you. And, you know, 'tis the season.
Right. We're doing ours outside. I'm like, please don't rain. Please let it be warm enough. Because I always push it like 1 or 2 weeks too late too, where like the last time we had them, I was the morning before like running around trying to find everybody coordinating like hats and mittens for all of their outfits because it was freezing. Like, it's always like the day that it's suddenly like 45 degrees is the high. So hoping that won't happen on Wednesday.
Right. Well, good luck. I'm sure
we'll see. We're doing it like out in the woods. That's my element. Like, we'll be fine. We can survive this.
You'll make it. Awesome. Yeah. Well, where I always like to start this interview is when your business ownership and motherhood life intersected. So I always start by asking, what came first, a child or your business? So which did you have first?
So I took a pause. I was a hairstylist for a long time. I had my own business in doing that, just like literally a 1-chair like suite rental situation. So I was sort of like business owner light, but hadn't done anything in this scale in any sense. Took a pause when my husband was playing hockey after we got married and wasn't working. My whole life, I thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom until I was one.
Right. And then you go, oh, just check, please.
yeah, pretty much. 1 kid was great. 2 kids was tough. And I think, too, like, I lived in places where I had a lot of friends who stayed home. And I'm not from Michigan. And when we moved back here, I was, like, faced with the reality of, still to this day, I have 1 friend who is a stay-at-home mom. And so, like, not having a network of people to spend my time with and stuff, that was really like an eye-opener for me that I needed something more. So I would say that I had my oldest had probably just turned like 1.5 or so. So my youngest was 4 or 5 months old. And then at that point I was starting to really just like think about it a little bit. I had sort of had the itch. I had known that Drybar was something that I wanted to be involved in. And so I just reached out on their website, like filled out the franchising information, just a quick little, about you section. And apparently I said the right things because they called me 20 minutes later and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm that ready, but let's start the conversation. So it was cool. But we went through the process, which is long. And I opened my first Drybar with 2 kids and I was 8 months pregnant. I opened and 3 weeks later to the day I had my 3rd child. So it's been eventful, and another one since. So
right, exactly. So it's like just keep it all coming. So one thing that you talk a lot about is having a village. And to some people that means, oh, well, I'm here alone. I'm not from here. I don't know anyone here. So how do you kind of think about village, and how does that not always mean immediate family? What else can village look like?
Yeah, that's so true. So the key people in my village, I mean, obviously, like I rely on my husband a ton. We do everything together. We are absolutely a team. But some of the most important people to us and that make this all happen are not people that are in our family. Our nanny obviously is she is the 7th member of our family at this point. We couldn't do anything without her. But also my leadership team in the shops as well. People that I can rely on for everything, not just the things that go on at home. Beyond that, we've got tons of extended family that is really helpful. Neighbors that I know in a pinch, I can call at the drop of a hat, somebody to pick up your kid, any of those kinds of things. Because as a business owner, it's tough. And I have physical locations and 40 plus employees, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong on any given day where I think I'm going to be somewhere and then the whole day blows up and I have to do something completely different. So having people in all of those places, someone that can go to the shop if I can't, somebody that can pick up the kids if I can't, somebody that can, be wherever I can't be. Because I think the thing that I say all the time is if I tried to be everything to everyone all the time, I would fail at something every single day. So being able to delegate that stuff, at work, but also outside of work is truly, truly helpful.
That makes sense. And I'm sure with 4 kids and 2 franchise locations, no day is the same. But do you have a typical morning routine, or what does your morning routine look like? And what do you wish it looked like?
I was just going to say, I want to be that person that gets up an hour before their kids. I want to do that, but that means 5. I don't have 5 a.m. in me because a lot of doing all of this requires a lot of work at night. So generally, I would say that my husband and I, he works for himself too. So we've got a lot of things going on. And there's 4 nights a week at least where we have probably 3 to 3.5 hours of just sitting on the couch on our computers, doing our thing. I'm sure that's true for just about everybody. A lot of people are sort of in that boat. So I wish I could get up an hour earlier, but I can't sleep an hour less. So at some point I will figure that out. I will go to bed earlier. I will get up before everybody else does. I will have a quiet house. I will work out. I will drink my coffee in silence. I'll do my own hair in the morning, something. I'm never going to do my own hair in the morning. Let's be real.
No, you don't need to.
Yeah. I'll find that. I would love to have that awesome morning routine. Instead, it is, my 4-year-old always wakes up. He comes in our room and he's the first one up, usually pretty early. He'll pop in. He gets an iPad for a minute so that we can wake up, get moving. I'll try and jump out of bed, get myself ready quickly so that I can get everyone else ready for the day. And then it's mass chaos from the minute everyone else is up. So
absolutely,
a lot of hustling and bustling and rushing everyone out the door.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it sounds like a lot of people these days. So are your kids home with the nanny all day? Do any of them go to care? Is your oldest in school? Is it hybrid? What's going on?
So a bit of both. My kids are in a Catholic school, so we are in school full time. Obviously with some precautions and stuff, but not a lot of changes. It feels really normal to them. So my 5-year-old is in a pre-kindergarten program, so he's 5 days a week. He's a super young 5-year-old. He just turned 5 in August. So he does 5 full days. My 4-year-old is in 2 full days, so they've got 2 days where they're both there. And then the other 2 are home with the nanny.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. We needed them to be in school, so we're pretty happy about it.
Yes, I know the people who have that are very happy right now.
Yeah,
so that makes perfect sense.
Yes, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about why Drybar and just a little of kind of your background. And I'm really glad to talk to you because a lot of the conversations I have are with entrepreneurs of service-based businesses that are based out of home. So the work they do is virtual on the computer. They can, do it from Zoom or at home or wherever. And your business isn't like that. So
it's not.
So what was that kind of for you? You were in the hair industry, but how did you know about Drybar? Why did it interest you? And now what led you to a second location?
For sure. So like I said, I was a hairstylist. That was something that I have always been really interested in, something that I knew I was going to get into, even when I was young. It was something that was definitely a passion of mine. And when I met my husband and I moved away to live with him while he was playing hockey, I started going to a dry bar. There was one nearby where we were living at the time, and I really loved it. I loved the atmosphere of it, everything about it. Obviously, like, who doesn't love getting a blowout and the experience and the champagne and the movies and all the things? Like, that was awesome. But beyond that, I also really was fascinated by this concept. I had a conversation with my stylist, and she said, "Oh, you just moved here? I work at a salon down the street. You should come and see me for cut and color." And that blew my mind, because this is an industry where it's complete non-competes. You can't work at more than one place. And I was really confused by it at first. I'm like looking around like, can people hear her? Like, what's happening here? And then she explained that this is truly how the business model works, because they don't do cut and color. They are, stylists aren't in competition with each other or with other salons in the area. And Drybar really encourages their stylists to turn that blowout clientele into their clients elsewhere. And I just remember thinking that if that was an opportunity that I had had when I was starting out my career, I could have gotten where I wanted to be so much faster, and been so much better at my craft, because starting out, you have to have a part-time job. And if that part-time job can be doing hair, like, all the better, right? Mm-hmm. So I loved that idea. I knew when we came back to Michigan, my husband had retired, that if I had an opportunity to give back.
Let's see. Oh.
I lost you for a minute.
I know, we lost each other for a second. You're back.
But I knew that I wanted to be involved in a business where I really felt like I could be doing some good, giving an opportunity to people that I wish I had had.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you recently opened Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect timing, right before a global pandemic. So rewinding your mind to before all this craziness had happened, did you always want to have a second location, or was something that made sense to you and just kind of came up?
Yes. And I want to have a lot more than just a second location. Like, this is a concept that I really believe in. But I also think that it's it's a convenience-based business. So obviously, we have lots of clients all over Michigan that would love to go to Drybar all the time, but they're only going to go if it's close to them, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to have more so that can happen for more people. So I definitely have plans to expand even beyond this. But I knew that Ann Arbor was going to be a really great location because of the proximity to the school.
Yep.
And there are so many girls that go to Michigan who have moved here from New York or LA, and they've been going to Drybar since they were 10 years old. Like it's a built-in clientele. They're used to it, and we opened and they came, and it was awesome. We opened New Year's Eve, and that was, I mean, 80% of our clientele right when we opened was students.
Right.
And then they left.
I know. So I don't want to dwell on the past because we're going to pretend that everything is moving up from here.
Yep.
But what was it like for you when everything shut down?
I have been through some really difficult things. I have had to make tough decisions. The day that I voluntarily decided that we were going to close the shops, second only to the day that my father died, was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Like that was, it was awful because we didn't know, right? Like we had no idea what was going to happen. We didn't know like that there was going to be, you know, financial help, that there was going to be grants given, or like that unemployment would be bolstered the way it was. Like I had to tell 58 people they didn't have a job anymore, and I didn't know when they would again. Like, is this going to be 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? We don't know. And that uncertainty was really, really difficult. Thankfully, like being a part of a franchise is great because you're not on your own, right? Like I have a network of another 30 operating partners that were in the same boat as me, as well as a really great support team through corporate as well, that we really were able to navigate all of it together, and sort of help each other through it. And it made it a lot easier than if I had to just be single entrepreneur on my own.
Exactly.
That would have
What would you say is something that you learned maybe from some of the other partners or from corporate that you think other individual businesses might have not known, or it might have taken them a lot longer to figure out?
I mean, there are so many benefits to being a part of a bigger like piece, right? Like being a piece of a bigger puzzle. And I think that like a lot of it is just like systems, right? Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time because you're all doing the same thing. So, so the benefit of having a system, I think, like if I had, when I opened Drybar, I had really considered like just opening up my own blowout bar. But I really like, I kept going back and forth about it. And I really went back to, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this in the best way possible. And I am the girl that will walk past like the corner coffee shop every time if I can see a Starbucks 3 blocks away. And so I knew that I wanted to have best in class. But then the thing that I realized once I got into franchising is that the reason they are best in class is because there is an absolute system in everything that is done. So now it's so interesting because when I look at different business ideas or like things that my husband is doing, now I can see it with the full vision of it's not going to work. There's no system. So like really like developing and executing like really specifically, this is what needs to happen every time, has been like the true marker of like what success can be to me. Like every time I realize that I'm not doing as well as something, or I'm really, really struggling with something, I can almost always go back to, wait, where's my system? If I'm not following a system, or if I don't have one, I need one pretty quickly, and it can usually right the ship.
Yeah. And if you listen to a lot of world-class experts and practitioners, whether it's, you know, sports or business, they all really rely heavily on systems. Morning routine. So have you taken anything that you've learned from being part of a franchise and really learning about systems into your family life?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I actually work with an executive coach who, her entire philosophy is based on daily planning. And it's like such a simple, it's a simple little thing, but it's plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins. So at the end of my day, I sit down and I say, what do I need to do tomorrow? At what point am I going to do it? Where are my meetings? I schedule it all in. You do that for your week, for your month, for your year. It makes goal setting and planning really easy too. But it's that simple task of sitting down and planning it, sitting down with my husband on Sunday night and calling his parents and saying, okay, I can pick up the kids this day, who can drop them off, who's getting them, who's going to hockey practice, like, are you going or am I going? I can go on Tuesday, you can go to hockey on Saturday, because now we can't all go watch, so that's like tricky too.
Yeah.
But having those kinds of things, and just truly realizing that that if it's not planned, it's not going to happen. One of my goals for this month that was written in my planner with all the steps that it's going to take to make it happen is family photos. Get it done. Like, and it's literally family photos, like call and book a photographer, pick out outfits, get a blowout. Like, it's stupid stuff, but like, if it's not in there, I won't do it, because in this world of multiple locations and so many employees and so many kids and everything else, like if it's not written down, it does not happen, because my day will blow up and I won't get anything done that I meant to.
Yes, I agree. And I also think that as moms, or just humans in general, to get the mental real estate out of your head and down on paper makes a world of difference, because we all run around all day with that little thing in the back of our mind, like, okay, I need to go to the post office. I need to go to the post office. Oh, I'm going to get my car washed. Ooh, I need to go to the post office. And it's like, get that out of your brain and put it down somewhere, so you don't have to constantly be reminding yourself every 5 minutes the thing that you need to do. It's there on
How much
paper.
easier is it when you say at 1 o'clock, I'm going to the post office?
Exactly. No, I absolutely agree. And I think that's a really good method. Doing it at night is great because the day hasn't started. I often find myself doing it in the morning. You know, I'm drinking my coffee and about to do something random, and I think, I need to do this. And I think getting back to the habit of doing it at night would make a world of difference.
Yeah. And
are you a night person or a morning person?
Oh, I'm a night person.
Okay, so that makes the difference. My like energy goes like this. I'm on like a ski slope. And so by 9 o'clock, I'm done.
Well, and I'm really productive at night. Not in like, I don't want to be working at night. It's not me being like, oh, I love to do this all at night. Like, I am like, okay, I do want to go to bed by 11. I got 2.5 hours to get shit done. I am now getting all of the things done that I didn't get to throughout the day, so that I'm not starting like on my heels the next day. So I will like bang out whatever has to happen to make sure that everything gets crossed off that list. So I become much more efficient because I'm sort of working against a deadline if I'm doing it at night.
I think deadlines help, and we have talked a lot in different series about even blocking your time and setting a timer. Like, if you have a project to work on, set a timer for 20 minutes and you're going to get way more done than if you just sit there and think about it and, go back and forth. You have a deadline. So I think any way you come up with your deadline is amazing. So with your kids and really for yourself, I've heard a lot about, laying clothes out and that type of thing. Have you gotten to the level of laying clothes and being prepared in that way?
So I just on Thursday morning, I was taking both kids to school. We had a mid-fall break this weekend. So Thursday was our last day of school, and some things happened. I reacted poorly. There was a lot of yelling in our house. My husband was like, we were both like just on high alert, and I get in the car, my kids are buckled in, and I'm driving and I'm mad. And I'm like, how must they feel about this too? Like, I had to tell them 35 times to get your shoes on, get in the car, put your buckles on. Are you buckled in? No, seriously, get buckled in. And I was like, okay, we need to talk about this. I can't just rush them and then not say anything about it, not bring it up. But the thing that we talked about was okay, that was not a fun morning. Today we didn't have fun. So what are some things that we could do that could maybe make our next morning fun? So we talked about things when we come home from school, maybe we could go through and we could actually take your lunchbox out. Maybe we could even take the step of making lunch the night before, because we do it in the morning. There's no hot lunch at school this year. Yeah. It's the worst. We're big fans of hot lunch at our house because it's one less thing to do. Yeah. But there's no hot lunch. So my kids want hot food in their thermos. So we've been talking a lot about how good ham sandwiches are, and they can be made the night before.
Right.
So last night was the first night that we implemented like making lunch, laying out clothes, and it actually worked really well, especially because my husband often, one of us is probably going to have to pick up the kids. That means that we'll start our day really early. So he was out of the house by 6 a.m. today. I had all 4 kids to get myself ready, them ready, and then have our nanny come and get out the door for school. So we laid everything out. We made lunch. We did all the things. He did eat his breakfast in the car on the way to school because he slept in. But other than that, it went very smoothly.
That's awesome. I feel like a smooth day starting out with kids makes the whole day go well.
Yeah.
So what are you learning now that you have 2 that are getting a little bit older and, can talk and share their emotions and opinions about maybe the things that you do?
We have a lot of emotions at our house. A lot of emotions. I mean, it's boys, right? So like it's not even in the realm of friends of mine that have girls. So that is very different. But it's like my oldest, especially, he's 5 and he is really particular about things. And like, he wants to do stuff the way that he wants to do it. And sometimes it'll be as simple as like, it's bedtime and he's been stalling. And he just like wants to go downstairs and get his stuffed animal. And so I'll like yell down to my husband, he'll toss it up on the landing. And then my son will like flip out because he actually wanted to go and get it himself. So things like that, like having time and patience for that kind of stuff. It's like, we know we can do things really quickly and we are always sort of in a rush at our house because there are so many people. But like understanding that they need that as well. We have had sort of like a magical thing happen in the last, I would say since school started. So like in the last month and a half, all of a sudden, like our older 2 are starting to get, and I'm really seeing it with my oldest, but starting to be really like task oriented and will sit and like color or do a craft in a way that like we were fully convinced that only girls do this because I've never seen it before at my house. But then my 4-year-old will follow suit and like we can put out like art supplies or whatever and they'll just play with them for like yesterday. My husband said that they just painted pictures for like 2 hours. He was like, it was awesome.
Wow.
And that is something brand new. So
that
we're liking
is amazing.
This maturity thing. It's great.
That is nice.
Really enjoying it.
I'm just thankful that my almost 3-year-old son is at a place where he can sit with, his toys and maybe like the iPad nearby and not need me, at least for like 10 minutes at a time.
Yes.
Like, can I just load the dishwasher even? Anything is fine.
My kids are pretty independent because there are so many of them. Like they have to be, which is nice. But on the flip side of that, we don't have a ton of time on on their own with each of them. Right. So my older 2 were really, really careful about like, well, I'm going to take this guy on Saturday morning to go run errands. And then like, you make sure that you have the other guy for like a couple hours in the afternoon or whatever. We will try and split them up so that we get one-on-one time. We don't worry about it as much with the baby. He's not a baby. He's 14 months old. But today.
But he's okay for a little while.
Yeah, he's fine. But then like yesterday, instead of taking the big 2 because they wanted to stay home and color, I took our 2-year-old. He's almost 2.5. And like, he was like, not even, he's like 2 and 3 months, 2 and a quarter. But he was just like, he was so happy to be out in the world. Like we went to Costco and
I know, probably the first time outside.
Probably the first time he's been in a store in 6 months. He was thrilled. But like, just to like spend that time with a kid that I don't spend one-on-one time with very much was super cool and just a nice change.
Yeah, that is amazing. And it's difficult to do. And I think sometimes as busy parents, it's not your first instinct, like the patience thing. It's not my first instinct to let him take a million minutes to like move his bench himself in front of the sink to brush his teeth. I'm like, okay, can I please just do this because I don't have time. But it really is good for them. And so trying to have that patience, it's a learned practice, but any little win I think is a pat on our backs.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. Patience is the hardest thing.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. So back to business. What are kind of the main buckets of things that you have to manage as the owner of your business with 2 locations? So do you have to do payroll and HR and behind the scenes? Do you source that out? Do you have to do, do you have managers in each store? What does kind of the breakdown look like of managing the business?
So payroll and HR and all of that stuff, that's me. So I definitely do all of that. It's nice. It's like a bi-weekly task that I can just sit down and knock out. Once a month, it gets a little tricky because my leadership team works on a bonus structure. So having to sit down and figure all of that out takes time. But payroll is a lot less daunting than people think it would be, because it truly is like a plug and play. Like, you print a report, it's got a bunch of numbers on it, you make sure they're all right, and then you enter them into another system. I think that was like one of the things, I mean, I hate doing it. It's annoying, but that's one of the things that I remember being like, oh, payroll, how am I going to do payroll? Like, if you're somebody who is now looking at going into a situation where you might be doing payroll for the first time, it is not hard to do. It is not difficult. It's like an easy thing to manage. It's just an annoying, necessary task. Since COVID, I am not in the shops as much as I was before. And that is simply because the business of being in business is now a lot more difficult. It takes a lot more, there's a lot more things that require my time that didn't before. Even little things, like I used to Instacart everything to both shops all the time because it's so much easier, right? But now I need to make sure that I actually get like toilet paper and bleach spray and all of that kind of stuff, which doesn't always happen on Instacart, and Instacart's more expensive now. So like, I need to actually pay attention to what we're spending in each place. And so things like that take up more of my time. I do have a manager and a shop educator that oversee both of the shops. So the shop manager does all of our operations based stuff, and then our shop educator is in charge of hiring and training. So all of our stylists, our manager does more front of house type stuff. Well, hey there.
Big up. Big up, mommy.
I know. He's up from his nap and ready to go.
Oh, always. Best timing too, right when you're trying to do something. But yeah, I spend a lot of time on marketing, things like that. Making sure, it used to be that because we were a national franchise, like we didn't need to worry about it. We could rely on the brand itself. And now it truly is like you have to be out in the world telling the story of, I am a female business owner and this is a local business, and my family's livelihood is at stake. So getting people invested in you and in your business and those kinds of things is important in a way that it wasn't before. I mean, obviously marketing is always important, but now it needs to be much more grassroots and those kinds of things. So that takes up a ton of my time, and just general operational stuff too.
Right, that makes sense. And I like something you mentioned in the show notes about the fact that people don't realize that franchise are small businesses too. Because they're owned by people in your community, and when you are thinking about, supporting, like you said, a small business owned by a woman, that is you also. And it's something that I totally agree with you. And I think it's really awesome that you're doing to make sure you tell the story on a personal and local basis, so people can really understand that you're part of the business too. You're part of this landscape.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's true. It's like, I think about it all the time. We have friends that own a pizza place that we like. It was like our thing that when we would when everything was quarantined and we were all shut down, we still tried to get pizza like once every week or two because our friends have this great pizza place. And then like my kids really like Jet's Pizza too. So like, or if we had like a ton of people coming over, like we would order jets. And like for a minute, I was kind of feeling guilty about it because I was like, but this is our friend's place and we have to support them. And I was like, but the guy that owns jets probably lives in the next neighborhood, like over.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
He's somebody too, and he has a family too. And so, so thinking about things like that, like there's, unless you're, you know, in a giant store at the mall or whatever, like there's probably very few places that you're going to that you're not directly impacting somebody in your community, and it's an important thing to think about.
Yeah, I agree, and I love that you brought that up. So, what is your one tip for all the mompreneurs out there in just, you know, staying the course and holding strong?
Yeah, you gotta delegate. Like you have to use your village. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And truly, I said it before, but if you try to be everything to everyone all the time, you will fail.
Yeah.
See, if you try and make your kid happy,
and your kid will knock over the tripod.
But it's so true. And just like you have to give yourself grace. And I think that you can't be perfect at everything. So you just have to be really happy being good.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you. It was so good to catch up and to talk to you and see your face.
Of course,
and you know, keep on keeping on because you're making it happen.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Erinn, and thank you all for tuning in to Mompreneur Mondays, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.